here.
Shit about to kill it, son. Mommy says she feel it, son. Stay 22
talking about this today. We talking about this today.
Kill it, son. I'll come down, let's kill the shit. Doesn't really make sense. This is really scary. I'm in, we in, ski trips, vacation. I'm working, you playing. It's urgent. I'm saying I ain't urgent. I'm praying to be fired like air, drip water, and laying. I brought the knowledge down. Walking on the stars. Walking on the stars. Walking on the stars. What's lost but now is found. We like who you are. We like who you are. We like who you are.
Talking about this. The world is in our hands, y'all. Time out is Kelsito, the spirit coach, getting you in shape and form for the age of Aquarius. Yiddy, you know what I'm saying? Check it out. We're going to talk about some real shit. And I'm going to try to bridge the gap because, you know, me personally, I be having a hard time like connecting, you know what I'm saying, and reminding myself that I am in a world full of humans and shit like that, because just the concept of that, you know, and how they was able to warp y'all mind and take y'all mind and direct it using their magic wand based upon them gaining control, you know, over the world and shit like that. You know, this is what we're talking about today. Okay. And we're realizing that we are in a world where we're getting taught a bunch of things, taught, you know, how to work, taught how to listen, taught what to pay attention to, taught what to react to, taught to what to pay attention to. And we're not necessarily producing the right results. And we know that based upon over time and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, the imbalance of, you know what I'm saying, people and us not being in a sense of where our grandmas and shit like that are well off and our grandparents are well off and we don't own nothing. We just see we keep going into regress. So therefore, that means something that we have to, you know what I'm saying, kind of debunk, you know what I'm saying, kind of destroy, kind of put to death and shit like that. And that's what we here to do today. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm Kelsito, Zeus. You know what I'm saying, the god of war, and you know, at the same time, it's sometimes, you know, you got to go to war on the right things. That's what it's about and shit like that. So we're gonna kind of point to how they even got y'all here today using one of their favorites and shit like that, Greek mythology, because mythology, you know what I'm saying, if you got a Ph.D. in mythology and shit like that, you can, you know what I'm saying, you can get a job in academia. You know what I'm saying? You can get a job in advertising and shit like that. You can get a job in anthropology. You can get a job in cryptozoology. You know, you can get a job in gaming. You can get a job in journalism, fiction writing and shit. You can get real paid, real good if you got, you know what I'm saying, college knowledge in this shit. You know what I'm saying? College science and shit like that based upon what they teaching in schools. And basically what they're teaching in schools based upon us looking around a globe and things of that nature. You know, what is permitted in school has to be sanctioned, has to be permitted and things of that nature. And so, you know what I'm saying, we got to look into like who's permitting these things and why they're permitting these things. If they're not, if we know as a person, me, I ain't never been in college. I ain't never heard no game from nobody in college that taught me anything of anything. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never, what's good, elevating? I ain't never heard no game from anyone that was in those fields and shit like that, that kind of gave me the aspect of night, of real life and shit. And Night, shout out to Night, what real life and what I want to you know what I'm saying, you can use to better my position, my spirit and shit like that. Yet we keep getting rocked to sleep to go into, you know what I'm saying, facilities where we get mental damage and developing diseases and shit like that. And we're also getting damages from not being able to, maintain our own position and finances and shit like that. And we're getting, you know what I'm saying, we can't get like I said, we can't get into a certain situation unless we have these principles and virtues based upon whatever's taught in these college and facilities and these hands you got to show. You can't even get into acting if you don't know, you know what I'm saying? You can't even get into producing movies like that if you don't know directing, unless you kind of gain shit up on your own. So that lets you know, like, kind of like the context that we are in today's time. Things got to be done on our own and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the position that we're in, because none of these situations and circumstances is working for the individuals outside of, you know what I'm saying, what we know to be as the world and its operations today. You know what I'm saying? So, so this is kind of like a check, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want what would you call it, gang stalking or something like that, or just, you know, say a demo checking. That's what we call it in Chicago. We demo checking. So if you're not coming with the right demo, you know what I'm saying, you're not coming with the right thoughts and shit like that, you a lame, you out of the whack, you know what I'm saying, you're not part of the pack. And so, you know what I'm saying, if we checking you and we demo checking you and shit like that, and you ain't necessarily a part of the pack and shit like that, you're not getting in where it's good at, depending on where we got in our mind. And so take this into a bigger context, into the world and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Gatekeeping. Yeah, shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? Gatekeeping. Shout out to Elevate Team. So so it's like it's a form of gatekeeping and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna put it in the context today where, these are what the people in the world are doing and shit like that, and keeping us, you know what I'm saying, outside of their gates based upon them rape and pillaging the world and shit like that. And they've been doing it for a long ass time, like 2,000 years. So over the years and sources, you know what I'm saying, and over the times and shit like that, we all developed on our own mind of what the fuck we then came to the conclusions of ourselves based upon, you know what I'm saying, like the position we in and shit like that. So yeah, we're gonna crash one of their biggest systems, you know what I'm saying, they mythologies and shit like that, because it's now, we're not saying that the people that not in control don't know this, you know what I'm saying, but we telling them that that what they teaching y'all in school, they don't know. Y'all don't know. You know what I'm saying? What they using y'all to get these jobs and shit like that, to be the gatekeepers of these societies as their puppets and shit like that. You just getting paid to be not shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. It's like you getting paid to be not shit. And so we got to put that in a context and shit like that, because you're not going to learn what I'm going to teach you in a college. You're not going to learn what I'm going to teach you outside of, and I'm just reminding you what you already know. You're not going to learn this shit, you know what I'm saying, going to Google. You know what I'm saying? You got to actually have a mind for this. And this is what gets to spiritual wisdom, spiritual context, and people being outside of those facilities that are experienced and shit like that. And this tracks spiritual wisdom and shit like that. And I am, you know what I'm saying, and I have my own situation where, as if I can relate to another spirit better than those people in those facilities and make in those government structures and shit, business, entertainment, religion, education, and politics, if I can relate to those the people in better ways outside of that which y'all call y'all government and shit like that, and the way it's ran, you know what I'm saying, then that means we all have our own minds and shit like that. And so therefore we can only determine that y'all trying to play a mean game on us and shit like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all gotta I think people in power gotta participate more with everyday folk. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gotta participate more so, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all puppets looking weak, y'all puppets is trash and shit like that. And if you in one of these business, if you in business, you know what I'm saying, you got a business and you running it and shit like that, and then you got a picture of this up, and you know what I'm saying, you got the 7 planets and shit like that, and you getting good where it's good because you following this and you doing these recommendations and shit like that, you saying these names and holding these crosses and shit because it's acceptable, you're weak, you're witchcraft, and you're out of whack. You know what I'm saying? If you're in entertainment, you know what I'm saying, and you like Lil Uzi on the stage, I make a City Girl Believe in Satan, and not knowing the right aspect. And if you're on the side of Summer Walker, you know what I'm saying, where you know what I'm saying, you're fighting against that, but not knowing the mindset, but y'all still getting paid to not know shit, you're weak. You know, you're trash. You need to be moved out. You don't even have any, you know what I'm saying? You know, and then if you religion and shit like that, and you teach your crosses and shit like that, and Jesus ain't came back and saved nobody yet. You know what I'm saying? It's in the context of what y'all talking about, aka what is y'all talking about? Is y'all talking about a man? You know what I'm saying? Is y'all talking about a guy that's coming out of, you know, the sky or some shit like that? You're weak. You need to get your pay downsized, and you don't need to be in rulership in the world anymore in any way. What I say, business, entertainment, religion, education. If you're in the schools and you're teaching mythology in the way that I'm teaching, and you're teaching history in the way that they teaching it outside of the, you know, what we if you're teaching history outside of what I'm talking about and what Zeus is going to tell you right now, then you need to get your pay downsized, and you need to get out of those facilities, and you're not good for our country. You're more so you're putting us in a position where we're regressing, and we can't move forward as a people. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not necessarily relating on the right knowledge. So why would y'all even yo, Zeus, I respect that electricity. Shout out to the elevator. But why would y'all even expect us to even participate with, you know, y'all that teaching this, and then respect the people that sanction to teach it for us as the people, so we can take it in our chakra system and try to make that shit make sense and shit like that, but it don't do nothing. So business, entertainment, religion, education, and politics. And yeah, politics. So yeah, if we not shaking hands, if we not voting, you know what I'm saying, if we not voting and holding up the American flag and the signs and symbols and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, if we're not upholding that shit like that, the signs and symbols, the American flag, you know what I'm saying, we not putting, you know, they signs and symbols and shit like that, and shaking our hand and voting and shit like that, so they can, you know, sanction who can go to space or not and shit like that, and who can go to Mars first and shit like that. That's all lies and shit like that. So, you know, we got some shit to handle, you know what I'm saying, and that's what the fuck is going on. Now let's get into this shit. You know what I'm saying? So we got to do this shit the right way. Real shit, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so let's get into it. So we're going to talk about mythology and shit like that. And basically all the way up from the beginning where they start, which is Chronos. And then they come down to motherfucking, they started Uranus in Greek mythology, and Gaia. And then Gaia and Uranus give birth to Chronos and shit like that. And then Chronos is overthrown by Zeus and shit like that. So yeah, let's get into it. So anytime you hear these people being overthrown and shit like that, you just got to realize that this is what they mean and shit like that. This is a group of people or something like that, noticing a power ain't working in their favor and shit like that. And this is how they was being able to overtake the world, based upon raping and pillaging, you know what I'm saying, the resources in that, taking all that and using it for their own, you know what I'm saying, and stealing the knowledge from, you know, Indians and whatever ancients that they stole it from and shit like that, taking that back home and using that, and letting other people come to the conclusions that themselves, that based upon the way they're living and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, they got to get harder, you know what I'm saying, they got to get harder in the sense of, you know what I'm saying, find out how they getting intellectually vested, you know what I'm saying, find out how they getting, you know what I'm saying, how they missing out, you know what I'm saying, that's fear of missing out, you know what I'm saying. So this is all about dealing with the desires and shit like that, and all that, you know what I'm saying. So anytime you hear somebody say overthrown, this is noticing your power isn't working in your favor. All right, so let's start at the beginning of the mythology. So, you know, at the beginning of the mythology, you know what I'm saying, is Uranus. I mean, Gaia gives birth to Uranus. Now Uranus is just, and now everything I'm finna teach you, you're not finna find on Google, you know what I'm saying, you're not finna find on on their books, or you're not finna find in college and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They tell you it, but they tell you it in a lackluster pseudo way, to the point where it's still indoctrinated within one of their 5 pillars. Okay, so Uranus and Gaia. So if you know, Gaia gave birth to Uranus and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? And they call Uranus the sky. So Uranus is just another representation for the mind. Okay, so now if you know about Uranus today and what the aspects of Uranus today is change. You know what I'm saying? Now, what do we look outside and what we see changing? We see shit changing all the time, and the world that we're in is changing all the time. The sky is changing, shit is moving in the sky. So that lets you know what they were calling back then Uranus. They were calling Uranus the mind and shit like that. So this is understanding your individual mind and shit like that, and Earth. You know, and it's correlation with Earth, aka your position in the mind, the sky. That's why they call Uranus the sky god. You know what I'm saying? Because it was us upon Earth was understanding the changes that was going on within the mind, as above, also so below. So yeah, and when you was able to do this is also another allegory that they use low key about a story on how they about to change the world and shit like that, or how they changed the world, how they changed Earth, or how they changed the perception of Earth. So you know what I'm saying? That's why Uranus and Gaia were consorts and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So now individuality and change, you know what I'm saying? Now think about somebody that's just in their individual state. This is what they tried to teach y'all, that y'all was wrong for just being individuals and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And then based upon y'all just being individuals, they had all these children that gave birth to all these children, which they wanted to control. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get into that in a minute. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but you being an individual and having a mind, and it being having the ability to change, this can bring a lot of traits, and a lot of the traits that this can bring were the children that not Chronos, Uranus or Uranus, that's what they call them, or Uranos or something like that in Greek mythology, but it's just another word for Uranus. But based upon y'all having you know, they us observing the traits that came from us being individuals of mind, this is how they gave birth to the children. And these would be the children that Gaia and motherfucking Uranus had and shit like that. So the children that they had, they were called the Emrines, the Giants, Cyclops, the 100-handers, Aphrodite, and the Titans. So these is all the children that they gave birth to, based upon Uranus and Earth coming together. So now you can do your research on your own on these owns, but regardless, like I said, it's always going to come back to what I'm saying. So the Enrias represents self-vision. And based upon, let me say this too before we get into this. So based upon you having your own mind and you being able to and being on Earth and shit like that, this gave not only life to having a change mind, but life to change and rebellion, us observing changes and shit like that, us going through time and seeing what ruled and what gained power and shit like that. And so one of these some of these traits were these children, and so they were called the Enrias. The Enrias, which represents self-vision, strategicness, and furiousness. So that's self-vision. As you as an individual being, this is before like we get into like mental rulership and shit like that. But you know what I'm saying, where people was governing themselves as an individual. So you know what I'm saying, shout out to Expanded Minds. But yeah, they had the Enrias, which is self-vengeance, the strategic to be infurious. So this is like you being manipulative on the secret side and shit like that, and being strategic and shit like that, which is one of the more primitive states that you have as an individual. And one that they saw that was a problem. That's why Uranus hated its children and shit like that. Then you got the giants. You know what I'm saying? So this is people that took it over by physical strength and shit. This is how people who's gaining power into physicality, because they were classified as giants. You know what I'm saying? So these are the children. Anytime you hear children, these is just imaginations of what is produced. So anytime you hear the giants, these are people that got physical strength and shit like that, and they were be able to take over. So they were trying to figure out a way to take over those people. Then you got Cyclops. Um, um, these were people that were full of themselves and living in their own world and shit like that. So they didn't really give a fuck about shit, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. They was just in their own world off the grid. They didn't have no type of, you know, organization or anything. They were just self-centered. They only saw themselves and shit like that. They only saw out of, you know what I'm saying, out of their own awareness and shit like that. They didn't have any balance between their two eyes, their masculine and feminine and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So moving on. So you had the Cyclops. Those were people that were in their own worlds. Then you had the 100-handers, and these were the emotional people. You know what I'm saying? These are the emotional people. And then you had Aphrodite, which is love, fucking out of wedlock, you know what I'm saying? Venus energy. And then you had Titans. And those were the older rulers who did magic with the stars, the desires and knowing the energy of the houses. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, hell yeah. Shout out to y'all. But yeah, these are the rulers who did magic with the stars and the houses. Okay, so that's why the Titans were 6 males and 6 females. Okay, so because and in the 6 males and the 6 females of the Titans were just basically the masculine and feminine sides of each planet. So you got Aries, which is masculine side of Mars, Taurus, which is the feminine of Venus. You now I'm a jump from masculine to feminine each one. Aries masculine, Taurus feminine of Venus, Aries masculine of Mars. Yo, I appreciate the knowledge. Shout out to Matt MC, New Hammer sub. Keep up with you for sure. Aries is the masculine side of Mars. Taurus was the feminine of Venus. Gemini was the masculine of Mercury. Cancer was the feminine just of the moon. You know what I'm saying? The moon don't got no masculine. You know what I'm saying? It just represents the reflection. So it represents the internal. Then you got Leo. You know what I'm saying? Which is the masculine side of the sun. You know what I'm saying? So these are the Titans that they were talking about that they gave birth to. You know what I'm saying? And these are areas of life and shit like that. And so we trying to get control over these and shit like that. And that's when we get into Chronos and creating restriction, Saturn and shit like that. But getting back into what we talking about, you know what I'm saying, far as us being integrated with, you know, these sides of ourselves and knowing that, you know, this is what they talking about. This is what we can track and shit like that. But yeah, so, you know, you got Virgo, which is the feminine side of Mercury. Then you got Libra, which is the masculine side of Venus. Scorpio, which is the feminine side of Mars. Then you got Sagittarius, which is the masculine of Jupiter. And then Capricorn, which is the feminine side of Saturn. Then you got Aquarius, which is the masculine side of Saturn. And Pisces, which is the feminine of Jupiter. So this is the 6 Titans. And this is the other 6 Titans. The 6 Titans, all 12 in totality and shit like that. So it just represents this and shit like that. Us going through, you know what I'm saying, our water cycle and shit like that based upon us being in a being. And also not only understanding this, you can understand that based upon us being into, you know, us being into mythology, they looked at us, you know, the sky and the mind as an individual. So because you as an individual got a mind and your mind change and your internal change, and we can feel that based upon seasonal changes and shit like that, they look at the being that we are in as the same thing. So that's why it was the first ruler was an individual, Uranus, Chronos, that on Earth and shit like that. So, you know what I'm saying? So this is how they looked at, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so so those are the Titans and shit. So based upon them, us giving birth to all those imaginations, based upon us being individuals, these were the problems that they saw as what they needed to control or what they needed to get out of as their desires to be a little bit more sufficient, because they saw that we were in an individual and shit like that, and based upon us being individual, we needed to learn how this works so that we can be more upstanding, upright individuals, like this being that we're in as individual, our own self and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So you live in the person, so you live in a being. And this being has a mind and it changes just like you have cells inside you and shit like that that go through transitions and things. And, you know what I'm saying, interacting with environments outside of itself as well. You know what I'm saying? Now, time levels differ because obviously it's a more macro position being that you're in. So, now, Chronos. Once we get there, so we got the birth, we got Uranus, and we got Gaia, and then we got the birth of the children and shit like that. And the children is what needed to be contained. So what did Gaia do? You know what I'm saying? Gaia sent Chronos to kill. You know what I'm saying? To kill, to overthrow. You know what I'm saying? Uranus, which was its father and shit like that. Um, so Kronos would envy the power of his father, and because he was orderly using the power of the stars, and that's all that means. Them saying that Kronos envied the power of its father is because based upon you not being lost into your desires and shit like that, you having more structure. What is Kronos? Kronos is another word for Saturn, structure, reality, boundaries, restrictions, limitations, and shit like that. So based upon, you know, the envy of his father, it envied that rebellious state. You know what I'm saying? But it knew that it being in one of those rebellious states and shit like that with no restriction and with no limitation, that it wouldn't be able to sustain itself. It would just be all over. So that's all it means when it say Kronos envied its father, okay, which was Uranus. Now, because he was orderly using the power of the stars, and that's why his sign is the scythe or the sickle. That's why Chronos' sign is the scythe or the sickle, representing the sun doing a full turn. And this is how we're tracking things like agriculture and furthermore. So Saturn, Chronos, whatever you want to call it, gave us the knowledge of us going from us being into the motherfucking 6 a.m., which is Aries right here, and they're doing a full turn. That's why the scythe is crooked. It's like a crook, you know what I'm saying? So it goes into Libra, which is 6 p.m. And when the sun get ready to go below the horizon, and then we go below the horizon, and then once we start going below the horizon, this is an allegory of us, you know what I'm saying, from our Aries through our Libra, you know what I'm saying? Aries is our first house, Libra is the seventh house, you know what I'm saying? Doing a full turn. And now we can get more in tune with our desires. You know what I'm saying? We can get in tune with more things that are below the horizon. We can get more in tune with things, you know what I'm saying, our feminine natures and shit like that. And us tracking that cycle and shit. This is us tracking the 7 seas or the 7 suns and shit like that. And you know, create and doing rituals and spells and rites and rituals that give us ideas and information on how we can be more like these things. This created agriculture, you know what I'm saying, structure and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so there's just you know, it killing Chronos, you know, having the scythe and shit like that, and using that to kill its father. You know what I'm saying? It's just basically us implementing a system or a calendar, or it's a lot of allegories for how they implemented Saturn. You know what I'm saying? So it could be a calendar, it can be a motherfucking it could be a motherfucking it could be a calendar, it could be a 7-day ritual practice, it can be us tracking the sun through the 7 seas and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Us relating to the first the lights above and shit like that, which would be 6 a.m. through 8 p.m., which would be Mars, Aries, and shit like that. Then you got Taurus, which would be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Then you got motherfucking Gemini, which would be 10 p. I mean, what did I say? PM. If I said PM, replace that with AM. So let me get back. AM, Aries, which would be 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Then you got motherfucking Taurus, which would be motherfucking 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then you got 10 a.m. Gemini, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., which would be Cancer. And then you got 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., which would be Leo. And then you got Leo, which would be 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Then you got Virgo, which would be 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then that's when we start to see the sun do that full turn, get by the horizon. And that's what we call that's what would be the allegory of Zeus. I mean, of not Zeus, of Kronos killing Uranus and shit like that. Our sky going into the darkness, and now we can start to reflect on that. So now, even in Greek mythology, they tell you that Kronos cut off the balls, you know what I'm saying, of motherfucking Uranus. Now, if Uranus falls in motherfucking Scorpio and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So this is us getting more into our desires and shit like that now. And then, if you know anything about body astrology, the 8th house represents sex. It represents your sexual organs. It represents your body astrology and shit like that. Y'all not finna get this shit nowhere in college. All right? So yeah, so that's what that shit is. You know what I'm saying? So, us tracking that Saturn. So that's what that means. That Saturn, and that scythe, that knife that Kronos used to castrate Uranus and shit like that. And Uranus falls in fucking Scorpio. And now we can get our individuality, you know what I'm saying, more in tune with where we all come from, the collective and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going into more relatable collective natures, which would be Libra, 6 p.m. for motherfucking 8 p.m. Then you would do Scorpio, 8 p.m. to motherfucking 10 p.m. Sagittarius, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Capricorn, which would be 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. to 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Then you do Aquarius, which would be, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Then Pisces, which would be 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Then we do it all over again and shit like that. So, these are micro versions of, this of our transition. And then we do that on a micro scale with time, but we also do that on a broader scale based upon the seasons and shit like that. And the seasons, which would be, the 4 sectors of that shit. So so basically Aries through Gemini, which is our springtime, and it correlates from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that would be our morning time. Then we got our midday. You know what I'm saying? So then we got our midday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. That would be our midday. So that's like spring on a broad scale. I mean, on a macro scale. Then you got summer on a broad scale when we get the most light and shit like that. When the sun is in its highest position, you got this one to motherfucking that, and then we got fall. You know what I'm saying? That would be the hours of 6 p.m. to 10 to 12 a.m. and shit like that, and that will correlate to our fall. And so that would be that on a micro scale level, but macro scale, it would be the actual fall season. And then you got the winter season, which would be Capricorn, 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. and shit like that. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and that would be the time we all sleep and shit like that. So it's death season, winter season. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the fuck is going on and shit like that. So you know what I'm saying? That's what you got to understand when we doing that full. We got that, and that's what they use Kronos for as the scythe. You know what I'm saying? To track. You know what I'm saying? Those 7 C's and shit like that. So. Yeah, like I said, using the harp the sickle or the scythe to cut the genitals for Uranus is a representation of the sky going from the day to the 7th house into the 8th house, or what they all call the sea, which is night, where we connect more to the stars and our desires and below the horizon. So that's all that is. They're not going to teach you that in school and shit like that. All right, so now, Uranus represents the sky or the mind because it's always changing, and they mention it being upheld by Atlas. So even if you go get into the god Atlas, you know what I'm saying? The god Atlas is the god that got the world on his shoulders and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But really, it's just an allegory for us just carrying our own mind and shit like that, and us having our own weight of our mind changing with the world going through shit, going through these transitions. Now, Kronos defeating Uranus is basically saying man ain't fit to have his own mind. Okay. So yeah, so that's basically saying man ain't fit to have his own mind, because these minds are desires, and these desires basically, depending on, they can control you and shit like that. So that was us tapping into that knowledge, knowing that these minds can control us. All right, so that's what that is. Now getting into Kronos himself. Kronos and his children whom he ate. So this is after Kronos killed Uranus. This is going into Kronos and rulership now, which is just like I said, just an allegory of us implementing, Saturn knowledge, and shit like that, and then us, understanding how to get control of these desires and block out the ones that aren't necessary, and so that when we start practicing the as above, so below, as witchcraft and shit like that, we'll start manifesting more into the nature of the actual being that we are in and shit like that, knowing that we're dealing with these natures and shit like that in the cycle. Now we start gaining power and shit like that, and because we start gaining power and shit like that, because we're making more sense. Saturn also represents sense. So now that we're gaining more sense and shit like that, we're more so in reality. So God is going to favor us in that way, if you get what I'm saying. So now, and they didn't rock it to sleep so wildly that, we not even like, it's a different ball game now and shit like that. But we still for reality and shit like that. And I dare one of you motherfuckers to say some shit that don't know no shit. I don't care if you went to Kimmy, all of us talking about this shit, all of us talking to stars, all of us talking about the same shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just the same shit in different ways. Now I'm just breaking down one of the ones that y'all teach in college right now, because that's one of the ones that, that y'all get y'all money and y'all think y'all got some sense of, prestige and shit like that, but y'all ain't shit. Y'all just getting paid to be not shit. So I'm just letting y'all know and shit like that. So now you could just become shit, your mind, shit like that. So so now Kronos and his children whom he ate are a part of the Titans, aka the new Olympians, or planet concept. So like I said, the Titans were just a representation of, what did I say? The rulers who did magic with the stars back then and shit like that. So basically the people that had conceptual knowledge, but probably didn't take it as serious, or didn't need to see, didn't come up with the ideas and the information on to use it for rulership or something like that. Those were those people. So they was trying to bring in new Titans and shit like that, new Olympians, and these were the seven planet concepts and shit like that they brought in as knowledge for motherfucking the sheep and shit like that. And we're gonna get into that. So these were the new Olympians, or the new planet concepts, aka the 7 seas, or the 7 cycles, or the 7 suns being produced based upon us rotating to the left. Okay, so we're a big body of water, as the earth is on water, earth formulated out of water. So we rotate to the left, and based upon us rotating to the left and clashing with different atmospheres, this produces an event and shit like that. So it's not light is traveling around, it's just producing an event and shit like that. And us being the star and interpreting, what we're coming to. This is us, we're coming to understanding, okay, at this time of day, these things happen. And that's if you was an occultist. If you wasn't an occultist, and you listen right now and this don't understand and make sense to you, you probably wasn't shit back then either. But but you probably reincarnated and shit like that. So Zeus is here to tell you that you can be shit now. All right, so but yeah, so like I said, those times of the day we was kind of picking up, okay, this is a different sun, because the light that is producing and shit like that creates different lights. And light is what? Light is information and shit like that. When you turn a light on, you get information, or when you can have a lighter idea and shit like that, that can take you out of being so heavy. This is you producing light and shit like that. When you produce light, you can take in information, and based upon you taking in information, you know what I'm saying, you can express yourself as your spirit through that information. And now, you know what I'm saying, people can see your internal flame, whether you a motherfucking black person or not, and you look like you ain't go to college, or you look like you ain't do the, you know what I'm saying, you look like you can produce something. So based upon us, you know, us rotating to the left, and that fusion and friction and clashing with that body of water, go look at the sun at 6 a.m. in the morning, all the way to 8 a.m. Go look at the sun at 6 a.m. in the morning all the way to 8 a.m. You'll see it. You'll see the clash and the fusion and the friction of us atmospheres clashing with this atmosphere, and that's going to produce an event and shit like that. And it's going to not only produce something externally to you that you can see, it's going to produce something internally. You're going to feel inspired. You're going to feel motivated. You're going to feel like you're ready to go for the day. You're going to feel like you know what I'm saying, you're in your passion. You're going to feel like you're ready to, you know what I'm saying, express and shit like that, or act and shit like that. That's Aries hours and shit. Like I said, so this is production. This is producing. So it's producing a light. You know what I'm saying? And so they was tracking these as the 7 lights. You get what I'm saying? So, and the moon is just a reflection. So, so these represents the 7 seas, or the 7 cycles, or the 7 suns being produced based upon us rotating to the left. Okay, and those who made a practice of these 7 virtues and principles, aka as above, or as above, so below, and as within, so without. So as above would be, you know, taking the information or the ideas that we get from that moment. As below will be doing the rituals and practice of it. As within would be taking how we feel about it, and as without will be doing shit like astronomy or creating calendars or shit like that. So yeah, those who made a practice of these 7 virtues and principles, which would deal with Chronos again, and principles, aka as above, created calendar, rites, rituals, and as we're seeing, based upon teamwork make the dream work. And then okay, so once we started getting into this science and started making it real and trying to be more like the being that we're in, the mind that we're in, and shit like that, we started to become more organized and shit like that. So that's what they call like getting information from God and shit like that, you know? Or that's what religious people, you know what I'm saying? Religious people, but it's a science to it. It's not just cap. Yeah, so aka now once you do that, you're given control over the 7 desires, or the 7 deadly sins, or the 7 seas, which allow them to spend more time into other thoughts and feelings, and not the ones they were controlled by. Okay, and the ones that you're controlled by are your 7 deadly sins, and they call these the 7 planets. Okay, so this practice in general was allotted to Zeus, you know, or expansion and contraction, which is why he was the king of Mount Olympus, aka the Pantheon. Like I said, it's the as above, as below. That's why Zeus represent expansion, contraction, and shit like that, and carrying out these principles the right way. And that's who I am, and shit like that. So you know what I'm saying. So that's and Mount Olympus is just another allegory of the ability to have the most grounded and highest perspective of Earth, where we live at. You know what I'm saying, in another being. You know what I'm saying. So. And the reality of that, which were the stars. So the ability to have the most grounded and highest perspective of Earth reality, which were the stars, and the stars are our mind and mentalities. That's why the ground, you know, Mount Olympus came out the ground and was within the clouds, because that's an allegory of us, you know what I'm saying, making the stability or making sense out of our mind and how we did and who ruled that. Zeus. Okay, so this practice was allotted to Zeus, or expansion and contraction, which is why he was the king of Mount Olympus, aka the Pantheon, or basically our experience. So when you knew how to tap into Zeus, you know what I'm saying, you knew how to experience some shit. You knew the knowledge of Zeus. You knew the knowledge and wisdom. You wasn't, you know what I'm saying, just controlled and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? If you actually knew the knowledge of Zeus and shit like that. And this is kind of what I taught them and shit. And this is what they used on y'all to kind of rock y'all to sleep. So Zeus overthrowing Chronos. Now let's get into that, because like I said, we did Uranus, we did Chronos overthrowing Uranus, which was the start of the mythology. And now we're going to do Zeus overthrowing Kronos. And y'all about to get that aspect and allegory of what I did. You know what I'm saying? So y'all can know why I did it. Okay, so this practice was allotted to Zeus, the expansion contraction. So Zeus overthrowing Kronos was us hopping into the speculation of having both inner and outer wisdom, which is why I cut Kronos' stomach open, which represents the desires. Okay, so y'all remember, if y'all are into Greek mythology, Kronos, what he do? He ate the rock and shit like that. So this is an allegory of, you know what I'm saying, you eating reality, you know what I'm saying, or you desiring, you being in a desire lost into reality or what's restricted. You know what I'm saying? You don't got no expansion or no contraction. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't got no way to get out of your mind of what this reality is and shit like that. You ain't got no way to see things. You don't have no experience. You don't have no experience as a spirit beyond this realm of reality. You know what I'm saying? You haven't passed this test. So, you know, when Zeus cut Kronos' stomach open and shit like that, or whatever you want to say, you gave him the poison. It don't matter what context to go into, it's always going to point back to what I'm saying. So when Zeus ate the motherfucking when Kronos ate the rock and shit like that, and Zeus slashed the stomach open and the planets came out, this is just another allegory of expansion and contraction. And then also them at the same time, like I said, some of this shit was for specific knowledge, but some of this shit is doing it in plain sight. It's them doing rituals in plain sight so they can trick y'all. Not even necessarily trick y'all, but you know what I'm saying, kind of keep the knowledge sacred based upon whatever they was manifesting and coming up with, you know what I'm saying, and them maintaining rulership. So when he cut the motherfucking stomach open of Kronos, what came out? The 7 planets or the 7 Olympians, right? You know what I'm saying? Zeus, Hera, all this, they all came out. You know what I'm saying? So that lets you know, based upon us standing with being in the side of a water cycle, and Kronos is Saturn. So let me let y'all see what this shit is, because and show y'all how we in the water cycle. So you got these are the fixed stars. Saturn is the water, the highest water cycle. And we know that based upon us manifesting reality and things of that nature. And within our reality or within our mind and the reality that we have as, you know what I'm saying, as which rules our individuality and shit like that, or which is closer to rule our individuality, Saturn, which is the reality that we manifested based upon all of our mind mixing together and becoming a reality and shit like that. This is how we're growing. This is how we're manifesting body in real time, from children to adults and shit like that. And then this reality even expired. So you know what I'm saying? So when you get into that Saturn and shit like that, that's the seventh one. And inside that, what you got? You got all the motherfucking planets and shit like that, whatever. So when Zeus came and cut that open, you know what I'm saying, that was the knowledge of that being revealed, or just us knowing, you know what I'm saying, that we're inside of a water cycle and its expansion and contraction. And that it can create all types of rituals, all types of ways to see it and shit like that, and use these energies to rule you. So so yeah, these represents the 7 desires and shit like that, and we all have these. So we don't get into that. So Zeus ruling has always been internal. You know what I'm saying? Zeus ruling has always been internal. It's never been a no external thing. Now, this based upon them practicing these spells and shit like that, this is how they got even better. Once they saw y'all worshiping these things, you know what I'm saying, like statues of Zeus, and you know what I'm saying, but not understanding that we all have Zeus and shit like that within us. And you know what I'm saying, we all have that energy within us, and y'all started worshiping the external. This is another form of them Zeus cutting the stomach open and shit like that, and them turning Zeus in Greek to Jupiter in Roman terms and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So now that it's in Roman terms and shit, like y'all can start worshiping the Roman figures and the figures in Rome. And that turned into not only that, but y'all forgetting that y'all within the water cycle, and now y'all worshiping actual CGI models of planets of shit like that. But it's not even actually planets. It's just, you know what I'm saying, based upon, them shooting satellites in the sky and shit like that. And then that light that is within that specific water cycle that we're calling Saturn. This is how they tracking it. So they shot a light up there within this specific water cycle called Saturn. Oh shit, yeah. They shot a light up there in the specific rotation that's called Venus. And now that y'all see that up there and whatever and shit like that, y'all still doing the same thing. Y'all still worshiping things outside of y'all, but not understanding these things are all aspects within our own mind. You know what I'm saying? And so this is how we interpret in these things and shit like that. We see the different transitions based upon knowing us. We inside of something, so we have to correlate just the same way, with our body and our mind, the same way, you know what I'm saying, the same way that it's doing it. So, so them creating Jupiter has to turn into external worship of the deities for the sheep, aka y'all worshiping y'all desires anyway. So this is how they control it. So, you know what I'm saying? But by y'all not knowing that shit, this is how they can create Saturn how they want to. That's as and not only did they do the ritual and the spell of it, they created the structure. They created what is how you gain stability, how you see reality, how you do boundaries and restrictions, and what you need to be practical about and shit like that. That's the internal explanation, but also they did the external. You know what I'm saying? What you need to do to, you know what I'm saying, gain stability. What you need to do to be realistic. We all want to be realistic, because if we're not realistic, we're not going to be relatable. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference. And then you got motherfucking and they did that all the way down to motherfucking the sun and shit like that. So you don't control, you don't control, you know what I'm saying, what you get to act upon out in the world, or what's seen as creative. You don't control that. If it ain't within their aspects of their system, then you don't control that. If it ain't within their Selena, so let's do it. Let's break it down. Helios, that's your sun. That's how you're seen. That's the god Helios. So y'all started worshiping that on the external. And so you don't control how you're seen. You don't control what you get to act upon. You don't just go get to do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to do that. Based upon the witchcraft and what they did to kind of rape and pillage and shit like that, and get y'all on the same train of thought or whatever. So you don't control your moods. You don't control Selena. You know what I'm saying? You don't control that theater. You don't control what you react to. You know what I'm saying? You react to shit in a way that, that is supposed to be reacted to based upon how, you know what I'm saying, you got to get up and go to work every day, or you're not going to survive, or you got to go do this every day. You go, or you're not, you know what I'm saying? So you don't control that. You don't control your own moods and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't. Regardless, you're still worshiping something that's external to you for you to even do that. You don't control your thoughts, your Hermes. You can't speak on what you want to. You can't think about what you want to in your own way. You worship Hermes. You know what I'm saying? You worship their version of Hermes. You only can communicate and find information that they put out, you know what I'm saying, on their Google and shit like that. You're not going to get, you're not going to believe Zeus can come down here, because based upon you think, basically, and Zeus can really come back down here to teach y'all what y'all been missing based upon how you think, how you communicate, what's communicated to you. So you worship their Hermes. You don't control your Aries, your passions, your motivations and shit like that without it being filtered through one of their systems and shit like that. You can't be the next the orange peeler. You know what I'm saying? You can't be the most famous orange peeler. Now, I'm saying these things make sense. I'm just using it to allegory. You know what I'm saying? As an example or metaphorics for y'all can understand that the mind state that they got y'all in. You don't control your own passions and shit like that. You don't control your own motivations and desires. You know what I'm saying? You lost into your own motivation. They teach you what to be passionate about. Get this money, get this job, get this house, build this building, shake these hands. You don't control that. You don't control your own Aphrodite. You don't control what you love and shit like that. You don't control the relatability between you and another human and shit like that. You got to relate on what's in the news, what's entertaining, what we love and shit. You don't control Aphrodite. You don't control even Zeus. You know what I'm saying? And they can't never control Zeus because I'm here now. But for the most part, you can control your own Zeus. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm trying to get y'all power back. So you don't control your experiences. You know, your meanings and reasons, your ability to place on your own meanings and reasons on your experiences. You gotta when you gotta get knowledge and wisdom from their doctors and shit like that. You gotta get knowledge and wisdom from their teachers and educations. You gotta learn what to be smart about on their time and what to be wise about on their time. You know, you don't know any spirituality where you can hop into your own God space and create this shit how we did in the first place from knowing how to practice what the mind is doing and shit like that. And we're never the mind, we're the spirit and the observer. The mind is always changing. So that's what, like I said, that's how they came to a conclusion that we in a person. And really they stole that shit. But and then you don't control your chronos, you don't control your structure, you don't control your reality, you don't control your limitations, you don't control, you know, the things that are in density and shit. You know what I'm saying? So you don't control your routines, you don't control what you got on schedule. You know, you don't control that. You know what I'm saying? You worship chronos, you worship these. Now and then they not only, like I said, yeah, they were stones and figureheads back then, but they didn't create a whole new concepts of them. AK shot some shit into space and got y'all looking at some shit like outside of this shit, and this is how they track the calendar, which ain't necessarily bad, but without you knowing the proper context, you won't be in the right mind frame to understand what's going on. And when you lost as a spirit, you only can be controlled. So this is all under someone else's interpretation. So when they can use their knowledge to come rule the people based upon rape and pillaging resources, using the magic and do it better than y'all, this is how we have today. And shit like that. So that is the motherfucking goddamn presentation. God damn it. Let me see if I get missing anything. That's a motherfucking presentation. God damn it. And that's how we fucking debunk, destroy, and all these motherfucking Ph.D. college professors and all these people. You spend so much knowledge. I have no words. Shout out to Expanded Mind. Yeah. So you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you don't run your 7 chakras or your 7 C's and shit like that. You can't be your own 7 knowledge master. You can't do that. And then so Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto aren't necessarily real planets. You know what I'm saying? That's just those are just interpretations based upon how we can individualize our imaginations and what goes beyond that. You know what I'm saying? And then that which is Pluto, which we still trying to take power control over and shit like that. And that's the most furthest out knowledge and shit like that, correlated to the 7th, 8th, and the 9th dimension. So, you don't control your desires. Those are your 7 deadly sins. You don't control them 7 deadly sins. They control them 7 deadly sins. And if you disobey the goddamn 7 deadly sins or whatever, or do them 7 deadly sins in your own way, they got all types of ways to, and ideas and mentalities that they didn't put out into the frequencies and to the shit to make you and your family members and people around you to start attacking you because of what they're into. So they worship them as well. You know what I'm saying? So the mind is controlled so deeply. And like I said, I don't even be looking at it like that because I be having to learn how to relate to humans. I be having to learn how to remember that, hey, Cito, you a human. Like, well, you a human, you got a body. So, you know what I'm saying? You can't just be like talking and shit like that without like trying to make it make sense and shit like that. So I be having to learn that. But I'm still trying to learn, you know what I'm saying, that, but I'm trying to participate and stuff like that. But it'd be hard for me to kind of participate with a lot of people's minds still within the construct, because if I present an idea or something like that, whatever, I start to get looked at crazy or whatever because of what a person may think another person is. But that's how you do it. You make a spirit aware. You make a spirit know that they're aware. So that at that point, once they're aware, you know what I'm saying, of what you're saying and it makes sense, regardless whether they're followed or not, and they follow it or not, they created that awareness. And based upon them creating that awareness within themselves and shit like that, gives you the ability to know, okay, we both agree on something, but that person is just not going to carry it out or whatever because of their own reasons. But I'm still going to carry out because I'm doing it for God. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing it for the real aspect. And that spirit can, deal with his own mind, fight with his own battles, fight with his family, fight with its, you know what I'm saying, and be in that space alone and shit like that until it start to evolve and stop being a spiritual child, stop being weak and come out the closet and shit like that and start to respect game and what's going on within the actual world and shit like that. So yeah, people don't be controlling they seven deadly sins and shit like that. People are worshiping that shit. So I slice Chrono's motherfucking stomach and shit like that. So motherfuckers can get out of their desires. But they turned that into an allegory of me slicing Chrono's stomach to or giving him the poison or however you want to look at for it to be externalized and worship on an external level when it's all internal and shit like that. And these is all emotions and feelings and ideas and virtues and principles we're going through based upon this event that's occurring that we see outside every day. And we feel within the transition, not even the transition of the sun, but us rotating to the left. You know what I'm saying? So that's and that's creating this event. And based upon our position, you know what I'm saying? We're starting to face away. When we face away from the sun, that is a motherfucking full moon. You know what I'm saying? We can see our full reflection and we start to face to the sun. You know what I'm saying? That's a new moon. You can't see the reflection. So the moon ain't a rock. You know what I'm saying? These motherfucking professors is dumb as fuck. You know what I'm saying? They just getting paid to be bullshitters. You know what I'm saying? They not this whole shit is fucking compromised and shit like that. And that's how you fucking break the message and actually see the real fucking Mount Olympus and shit like that and make structure out of what the fuck you're dealing with. And you're dealing with your fucking mind and the motherfucking stress, making sense of that shit and being able to be actually with God and shit like that and do your own expansions and contraction. And that's what the fuck it is. So man, I need all y'all to forfeit, man. Other than that and shit like that, all y'all forfeit or just start coming to learn, come to teach. Join Cito's Clubhouse, join Cito's membership and shit like that. Join us on this journey as we actually, be in real life and real reality. I'm the God of Mount Olympus. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the God of Mount. Ain't no other. And I don't even like calling myself a God because God, based upon what they talked about, is just a Lord. So it's just Lord. It's just a Lord desire. But you know what I'm saying? You can use your desires for God or you can use your desires for things of the world and shit like that. And that would be you eating a rock. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? I'm going to come and slice your motherfucking belly. I'm going to cut that shit open and get you out of that fucking restriction that you in, Chronos. You know what I'm saying? So get with the fucking program, you know what I'm saying? So we can get to a better day and shit like that. And this is regardless whether motherfuckers notice or not, this message is out here. So it's over with. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. We in a new world, we in a new time. Everybody got to get up with the time and shit like that. And know that they was into some bullshit. And then we can start pointing the fingers the right way and shit like that. And then we can start getting them to understand, you know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna do shit. They ain't gonna do shit. They trying to learn too and shit like that. So that's it. That's it. But yeah, man, other than that, shout out to everybody that came to the motherfucking class today. You know what I'm saying? We just had to set some things straight. Fuck every PhD professor. Y'all should be motherfucking for the injustice that y'all did to the humans. You know what I'm saying? Y'all should be fucking looking at y'allself like y'all disgusted at y'allself. Y'all should be looking at y'allself like y'all doing the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? Now I ain't saying, you know what I'm saying, you gotta repent. You know what I'm saying? And to repent, you gotta start learning that you was lost. And to understand that you was lost means you can get back on the right track. And that's how you actually repent. Not get on your fucking knees and pray to some shit that you don't know what the fuck is happening and shit like that. And shit like that. So all the religious people going to hell for real. You know? So this is this is the real science and the real knowledge of what we in. We're in the water cycle. You know what I'm saying? We're in a being. and we're in this being that we're in, as an individual. And this individual, has its own experiences and traits, which would be, the experiences that it experienced within the ecliptic, I'm saying, the Aries through Pisces. And this has developed its traits. And based upon it developing its traits and shit like that, with you being inside of that, that's all you know is its traits. You only know the same shit go on and shit like that. But the more you start getting out of that, as more you start realizing and expanding this being and shit like that we're in, the more you can start relating on more broader levels. And this gets into you to real predecessors, real spiritual ancestors and shit like that can actually help you get out of circumstances and not be in the same shit. You can't use the same shit that you're in to get to take you out of it. You got to actually have something that's outside of that, and that's what they made y'all think. They made y'all think that whatever is outside of y'all, literally, is what y'all need to pray to, or is what y'all need to have or need or whatever to actually be sustainable in life. But they created a false version of that. So it get deep. So it get real deep, So just make sure y'all in place. So all y'all should forfeit, and all the shadow government that sanction this shit should forfeit and shit. And don't try to run and change faces and shit like that, because we gonna find y'all and shit like that. And the only thing I'm afraid of, only thing Zeus is afraid of is Nyx and night and shit like that. And that's the only thing I don't disrespect, because night and night, that's fall, that's over here by Uriel. And that's death and shit like that. And because I know that none of this shit ain't shit. I'm saying? We all in a transition and we all going through an experience. So yeah, so that's the motherfucking knowledge and shit. Yeah, but other than that shit, I'm saying? Job is done and shit like that. And child last in the game. Yeah.